My name is Patience. My father had been sleeping with me and I didn't know about this. This is because he used diabolic powers on me. It was my mother who found out what had been going on through the help of a seer. It started in our little community named Osin. My father worked as the manager in one of the biggest farmlands, and it was owned by a wealthy man. My mom owned a mini store where she sold vegetables. We didn't have much, but my parents tried their best to make sure we didn't lack. One evening, my father was at home bonding with his family when he got a call from one of the warehouse where he stored farm products for the wealthy man. He held the phone close to his ear as he screamed with shock all over his face. "What did you say? How come?" "I'll be there as soon as possible," my father said and ended the call. My mom and I got worried and asked what happened. My father explained that one of the storehouse caught fire, and with that he rushed out. Moments later, my father came home looking sad. It was decided that my father would be sacked because, according to the wealthy man, it was my father's fault. It turned out that some people in the store spoke against my father just to set him up. They even lied that he do bring farm products to us at home. That is why my mom's store was growing. My father explained that they had always envied him being the manager because they felt he was not qualified for it. He didn't expect them to go far just to bring him down. Over a few weeks, my father kept looking for another job, but to no avail, because the rumor spread quickly like wildfire that he caused a fire at the wealthy man's store. This made people not to trust him and give him a chance to work for them. One fateful day, my father met one of the wealthy businessmen from the city who used to buy goods from him while he was still managing the wealthy man's farm. They had a conversation, and after explaining everything, the wealthy businessman offered to help my father. When we heard the news from my father, we kept praying for him to get the job the wealthy businessman promised. The day finally came, and we accompanied my father to the park where he left for the city. He gave my mother the address of the wealthy businessman before leaving. Hours later, he called us to let us know that he had reached and he is currently with the wealthy businessman. And the wealthy businessman made him the personal assistant in his company. This is because the wealthy businessman had been observing my father. Whenever he came to the village to negotiate business, my father always proved to him to be an upright and intelligent man. We were so happy for my father, and from time to time, he sent us money. Few months down the line, we started making plans to move to the city to stay with my father. One day, the wealthy man's farmland was attacked and foodstuffs were harvested, but the people behind it were caught, and after thorough investigations, the truth was revealed that they were the same persons that caused the fire outbreak at one of the storehouses that led to my father's dismissal from being the manager. The wealthy man requested for my dad to come back to work for him, but when we gave the news to my father, he was happy his name had been cleared, but he had already gotten something better doing in the city, so he wouldn't bother accepting the offer. Some months later, we moved to the city to live with my father, and when he came to pick us from the park, we were so happy to see him. He even came with a car to pick us to his house. His house was bigger than ours in the village. I was enrolled in a school and my father opened a supermarket for my mother. We lived happily together not until one day when my world came crashing down. I was about to sleep when my father came into my room. I wasn't surprised because he do come to my room sometimes to give me gifts or to ask how school was. What surprised me was that my father brought out something from his pocket and poured on my face. I tried to dodge it, and then I asked him, "Father, what was that about? What did you pour on me?" I tried getting up, but my father asked me a question with a shocked expression visible on his face. "Can you still see me? You aren't supposed to see me." "What do you mean?" I answered, confused. And with that, my father tried to grab me, but luckily I ran out of my room to my mother, who was awake in her room. I was panting, trying to explain what happened to my mother when my father came into the room. My mother asked him, "Honey, I didn't see you leave the room. What is going on? Our daughter seems to have a problem." I beat my father to it by explaining what happened in my room, and my mother looked at my father with wide eyes. She got up and asked him, "What is the substance you poured on her? What does it mean? Why did you do that?" My father kept quiet, but he started behaving somehow. He kept mumbling some things under his breath, and suddenly he tried to attack me. My mother quickly opened the locker close to her bed and brought out something, and the moment my father saw it, he started to shout for help. He couldn't come close to me and my mother. We were surprised to witness the scene before us. My mother shouted at him to confess what he had done. My father rolled on the floor as he spoke. My family, please forgive me. I had no choice. The wealthy businessman made me his personal assistant, but the pay wasn't enough. It wasn't that much. I wanted a change. I saw how he treated his own family, and he took them out on vacations sometimes. And I wanted to do same for you both. The wealthy businessman who had been observing me for a while introduced me to a cult, and I became wealthy in no time. That is how I got you both the life you are living. But I had to sacrifice something in return. My mother looked at my father with her eyes threatening to bring out tears. What did you sacrifice? She asked. My dad, who kept acting like he was being tormented, finally said, I have been sleeping with Patience every night since you both came into this house. I used the powder on her face and she won't know herself anymore. After I finish, I do clean her up and lay her back on the bed, as if nothing happened. The next morning, she doesn't remember anything that happened, and the cycle continues the next night. I don't know why the powder didn't work tonight. Please forgive me, he said, crying. As I heard all of this, I couldn't move my legs. My head felt like it's spinning. What did my father just say? He had been taking advantage of me all this while, and I didn't even know? How can my father do this to me? I fell to the ground, looking confused, betrayed, angry. I felt lots of emotions at once. My mother, on the other hand, let out a loud cry. How dare you? You have ruined our family. You would have been content with being a personal assistant. And with time, God will make you grow. Now see what you have become. A monster. You have ruined our family. With anger, my mother tried to hit my father, but he suddenly fell to the ground, looking dead. My mother looked scared and shocked, and I was also confused and scared. With shaky hands, my mother carried her phone and dialed a number. I could hear them talking. It turned out that my mother had been invited to a religious program where it was revealed to her that there is evil in her home, and she was given an item that would put a stop to it, which is what she brought out from her locker when my father wanted to attack me. My mother followed me to my room so we could get few of my things and go to the religious leader's house. And when we were done, we headed to my mom's and dad's room so she could pack hers. But what we saw shocked us. My father's body was no longer on the floor of their room. We searched everywhere we could, but there was no trace. That night, we packed all we could pack and left to the religious leader's house. A prayer was done for us and my mother kept consoling me, telling me everything will be alright. Few weeks later, my mother's restaurant began to go down and she had to sell the place, and we moved to the village. With the savings she had, we started our lives in the village. Until today, we have no trace of our father. Whether he is dead or alive, we do not know. All I know is my life never remained the same. I still battle with the thoughts that my own father took my virginity and ruined my life. I am currently 25 years old and I have trust issues with men. My mother, who is a strong-hearted woman, is always there for me. But I bet you it is not easy living with the fact that my father did what he did to me. I hope one day I'll be free from this pain in my heart and move on and also learn to trust again. I hope you enjoyed this story. See you in my next story.